Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Failed His Genin Test and Was Intensely Trained. Part 3 guys, remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in social media platform. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything over on Anime King 2. And I'm going to be posting a new episode over Anime King 3, so stay tuned for that and I hope you guys enjoy. If you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, yes, I have 3 channels, Anime King 2, and Anime King 3, which I post on every single day for you guys to enjoy. Links will be down in the description for the others, so go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as Naruto and his group was gathered, him, Sakura and Sai as they were waiting for the right moment so that they could attack the facility. As Aoba Sensei was inside, the objective was for them to attack and try to rescue their sensei, or go back to Konoha for help, but they chose to attack as the other Genins watched. This would be rather amusing. Well, they were completely caught off guard when Naruto and his group attacked. Sai, using an ink animal as a distraction, Sakura made her way to one of the tallest trees as she started to watch out as she relayed the information towards Genin group. As the boy came in, he nearly slashed one of their throats. They quickly rescued Aoba as he took him back. Sai was inside of one of his ink animals. Let's just say the Chunins were rather shocked that the group came up with that quick plan and performed it so quickly. The distractions were perfectly timed. As they brought Aoba, they told him to stop faking it because he didn't have a single cut on him. And Sakura saw them returning back to normal after they left. Yes, because she was still there as Naruto came to get her because she couldn't walk properly. As Naruto wondered if this was because of him. But Aoba couldn't tell him why. Why do everyone seem to hate him? He told him to ask the Hokage. The next day Naruto did exactly that. As Hiruzen saw the look in Naruto's eye, he knew that something was coming. As Naruto asked him, the man released Sai as he told Naruto that he had the Kyuubi inside of him. Naruto got furious, he got pissed. Outright violent to know that the beast was still inside of him. Why? Was it because he was close by? As he was just furious to no end. As Hiruzen had to calm the boy down. As he said for the both of them to go and get some ramen. After a while though, Naruto's temper subsided. Hiruzen then noticed something strange. As Ayam was acting, well, cheerfully towards Naruto, trying to get him to open up, but the boy was secluding himself by himself. That was rather strange. It was then that Naruto excused himself as Sakura came to find him. It was then that Hiruzen noticed what Tuki told him a long time ago was that he liked to keep Ayama's mother picture nearby so that she could watch them cook. But now he saw another picture of Tuki. He couldn't believe it. So busy and wrapped up with village work. The old ramen chef had died, leaving Ayam the only one to run the restaurant. As Ayam said that Naruto blamed himself. Hiruzen didn't know how he died, but he saw that it was too hard on the girl to talk about you right now, so he did not pry too hard. But he couldn't believe it, he didn't even notice. He didn't even know. As he saw Naruto was blaming himself for that, but he couldn't understand for what reason Naruto was blaming himself. Time passed as Sakura tried to figure out Naruto, as she didn't understand why he took the blame for her. As they went on a mission to dog walk, and Naruto said that he was the one that accidentally pulled on the dog's neck too hard. Despite the man cursing at him and him not doing anything at all. As the man had also brought to the scroll. That was mission report. Sai was confused. A mission report took a while to route. So that meant the man had wrote it a long time ago and was waiting for them to return. The Hokage got it as Aoba shook his head, telling the Hokage that it was misleading. The man congratulated him on their first mission as Aoba took them away. Sai had met up with his master Danzo, as it was his objective to watch Naruto. If the boy was showing misloyalty to Konoha, it was up to him to take him out if the boy had chosen the wrong path. The day then finally came as Aoba started their training. So yeah guys, it was basically as what I thought you guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself so this will begin this new episode. Alright, today I will spar with each of you and see where you stand. As Aoba went into his stance. Sakura, come at me without thinking, you first. Sakura dropped right into the academy fighting style as she attacked, but she wasn't even able to land one single hit on Aoba. The skills difference between them was great. Sai went next and he managed to get close to Sensei. He was getting extremely close, like attacking that close range combat was better. The Sensei said nothing as he just continued to block and dodge. And then finally, it was his turn. He settled into his stance as he tried to throw his own punches and kicks. Aoba frowned and then looked at him with a distasteful look. His own practice lasted far longer than Sakura's. Alright, said Aoba. Sai, you're fine. Sakura, you should be far less tense and fluid in your movements. Naruto, yours is horrible. I think you should forget about entering a taijutsu match. For the moment, I'm sorry, but it's too time consuming to get you back and on par with the others. You just can't develop muscle memory overnight and, unluckily, there are three of you and only one of me. I can't waste time on breaking your bad habits and not training your other two teammates. Naruto opened his mouth to say something, probably to explain why he had such a bad stance. But he just closed his mouth and nodded. Very well. During the time I'll be training your teammates in taijutsu, I'll have you started on shuriken jutsu. I can't have you getting killed once we start taking missions outside the village, so fair is fair. I start you on weapon use. And we can let your taijutsu drop until we reach tuning, with a more advanced stance are available, or you can simply practice on your own. But your bad habits are probably ingrained since your time at the academy. Didn't anyone ever correct you on your mistakes? No, no one had. Even if he was doing something wrong, they never correct him. They never even glance at him. When it comes to learning, he shrugged it off as he averted his gaze, feeling a wash of embarrassment. What was he standing there taking heat for? So he sucked at taijutsu. Did he have to say it in front of his teammates? I'll take that silence as a no, Aoba said. Let me guess, you're thinking I'm humiliating you in front of your teammates for no reason, right? Naruto looked up as Aoba chuckled, but there was no humor in the chuckle. It's wrong. I'm not humiliating you for starters. Just telling the truth. And there's a reason I'm telling your shortcomings to your teammates. Because they too will have theirs. I already know that Sakura, stamina is extremely pitiful. And Sai, lack of an initiative might be a problem. And there might be more I have yet to see. But the point is, teammates should know each other's weakness so that they can cover for them. There is always someone lacking in a group. The important thing is not to hide it so that the team can help if a need ever arises. For example, if an enemy shinobi were to attack you in close quarters, both Sakura and Sai would know that you will go down fast unless one of them come over and help you. Out of the two, Sai should be the one to come. But if Sai is in a pinch, then Sakura has to be the one to enter the fray to help you. This is a split-second thought in the battlefield, but it is something that must be planned months before. This is what is really important, acknowledge one's strengths and one's weaknesses. Having the correct heart, the correct season. It's the first rule of a shinobi. Without it, you will not possess the maturity required for the work you'll have to do and take on. Remember this, he said, as Aoba smirked to himself. He knew that he gave a wonderful speech. Aoba was a man that was always planning, as he planned this long before its time. Now he will train them into the perfect students, hopefully keeping them alive until they reach Genin rank. There was no war out in the open, so he can actually get his team to survive, well, until the Chunin exams. Well, he wouldn't let his team participate in the ones at Konoha. Those will be too soon. And he doubted that he will get past the first test, whatever it might be. Sensei, Sakura asked. Aoba opened his eyes, still smiling. Can we go now, she asked. Yes, of course. Tomorrow morning at 7, in front of the Hokage's tower. Sakura waved goodbye to both Sai and Naruto before heading out to the client house. She would clear the misunderstanding with the man's dog, whether Naruto wanted to apologize or not. She smiled to herself as she arrived as she knocked on the door. Patiently, she waited. A few minutes later, the door creaked open to reveal the gruff man, who stared at her. Well, what do you want? He said. I'm sorry, sir. I just want to apologize. There's no need, the man said, cutting her off rather quickly. It's not your fault that you were saddled with that demon as a teammate, he said. He sighed, shaking his head. I can't tell you about it, shinobi secret and all, but you should watch out for him. He's bad, he's really bad. He got evil inside, you know. He might look human, but he isn't. He took my wife 12 years ago. Sakura's eyes shot open wide. Naruto killed the man's wife? How? No, that didn't make sense. He was probably what, 1 year old? Well, she didn't know when he was born to begin with. Can't tell you anything, girl. Law is the law, he said. 10th of October. My wife's death, that is. Wicked evil boy. Very, very wicked. Sakura eyes widen as she remembered what the 10th of October was. But that's the day of the Kyuubi's attack. She saw the look on his man's face. As she was right. Something wicked was inside of Naruto. Something that killed the man's wife. On the same day when the Kyuubi attacked. That's your opinion, girl. Careful now. I didn't tell you anything by breaking his secret. S rank, that is. As he then closed the door and went inside. As Sakura made her way. As her mind started to put 2 and 2 together. Naruto was a Kyuubi? No. He had the Kyuubi inside of him? He held the demon that nearly destroyed Konoha inside his stomach? She clenched her hand. This was a secret she wasn't meant to know. An S-rank secret meant death. On revelation. She had to keep quiet about this. But how was that even possible? She had to hit the library quickly. She had to find out if Naruto was dangerous or not. Still, it explained why the man has mistreated Naruto that badly. Had she lost her appearance to the Kyuubi, maybe she would have hated Naruto as well. Not knowing what to think, she missed the eyes of Sai, who was standing quietly on the 2nd floor of civilian house. Entering the home of the man earlier, he had cast a genjutsu on the man, and made the man say exactly what he wanted to say. He couldn't risk Sakura breaking in the middle of the mission. If Naruto decided to reveal that bit of information himself during the trip, if the girl after saying that she wanted to be his friend renounced him the following day, it would be the perfect test to find out if the genjutsu was a failure or not. He was a failure because he still felt emotion. And for Danzo-sama, that was a horrible trait for a shinobi. He was a failure for different reasons. But one thing the boy had to possess, mental fortitude. Jinjurikis had to be psychologically sane, or they were nothing but more than dangerous for their village. But there wasn't another choice. Still, Sai shrugged. As he unsheathed his tanto, the civilian had revealed just enough for it to be warrant a breaking of the S-rank secret. And the punishment for that was death. Time skip. Naruto flinched as the sparks nearly singed his gloves. The broken cable dangled next to him, but the power had been cut off, so they can work on it. The job wasn't dangerous or difficult, but it did have a slight risk with all the electric fields that was lingering in the air. His hair was all frazzled, just like Sakura's. Sai's short haircut had saved him from the embarrassment. The transformer was in the corner of the room, filled with cables and piles of batteries. Some of them had leaks, so they had to remove and put new ones inside. Once that was done, and after checking for broken cables, they'd relight the whole thing, and then they were going to be done with it. Naruto winced as a shock passed through his gloves and shook his hand, making him wince as he removed his hand from the cable. Hadn't they discharged the damn things? He watched Sakura as she brought a large battery over. As she placed it next to the transformer, she bit her lip. He moved closer. Hey, she stepped back, rather frightful of him. What is it, Naruto? She said. Want to go and grab the new cables? I can take care of the battery, he said. She looked at him with a rather fearful gaze. Did she know? Who told her? Why? As he quickly moved the battery over to the transformer. As he watched Sakura, she was moving, not looking at him. She passed near Sai and he tensed. Was she gonna tell the truth to Sai? He knew that Sensei knew, but he wasn't acting indifferently. Sai, on the other hand, he acted so emotionless. Would he even care? Would that make him snap and turn bitter against him? Dickless, careful. He snorted. Sai wouldn't do anything different if he found out. The boy was mostly a robot. Warn me, when you insert the batteries, they start charging. Remove the cable without checking and you might electrocute yourself, said Sai. He nodded to the boy. All the broken cables had been removed. Their sensei was watching from the door. Sakura was packing the other cables, as she was a great distance away from him. As Naruto turned back to the batteries, electricities in Konoha work with a special battery, with a special element that they being Genin didn't know of. A very acidic nature or something, but he did not know. The moment Naruto started attaching cables, Sai mistakenly flicked a button that he wasn't supposed to. Naruto cried out in pain as the electricity ran through his body, running into the earth. Sai was fast to turn off whatever he had pressed, but the damage was already done. Naruto fell on the ground, his entire body twitching. Their sensei reached for the boy as fast as he could, hissing as he brought him outside. I'll bring him to the hospital. Both of you stop working and wait for my return, he said, as the man quickly sunctioned away with Naruto. Someone on the nearby roof got up. The plan had been started. Now it was time for the second stage, as the person vanished. Meanwhile, Sakura felt torn. She spent the entire morning watching over Naruto to see some sort of fox-like features, but he didn't look like a fox. And there was nothing about him that was evil. If anything, he took the hard jobs without complaints. At the last moment he took the battery from her. She could have been the one that got electrocuted. She was tired of moving batteries, since their size and their weight was, well, quite heavy. And he gestured to swap with her. She accepted, and she knew that she looked rather frightened. Probably he knew that she knew, as she saw a hurtful look on his face. But he didn't say anything afterwards. He just returned back to work. He just took both, replacing up the cables and replacing the batteries, as he was keep on glancing at her when she went to Sensei nearby, or Sai. It was like he was afraid that she would hurt him badly by saying something to them. You know, Sai said suddenly, surprising her. She turned towards him. I know what, she asked, trying to release a small chuckle, but she felt nervous. What is it that I know, Sai? She asked. Nicholas, you know, he said, as Sai eyes fixed on her. You know of his status. Sai, how do you know about it? Not relevant, Haruna-san. Not relevant is how I know your parents' occupations and their schedules. Not relevant is what happened to you if you tell. S-Rank's secret revelation had a death sentence. You do know that, right? Sai. Who are you? She said in fear. I am Sai-Sato. That's my name, he said. You're not really a Genin, are you? She said. She took a step back in fear. She didn't fear Naruto now. She feared Sai. And that look he was giving her that was so blank. Who am I is not important, he said, as he took a few steps closer before whispering. What you do, however, is... She was safe as Sensei came back as Sai removed his distance away from her. Naruto will have to remain in the hospital for a few days. It might even be a few weeks. Sai, you should go and apologize to him tomorrow. I also wanted to head to the library today and get a good read of electrical systems. I will question you on what you did wrong tomorrow, so don't slack off. Sai nodded before he ran off. Sensei, Sakura said. Sakura, I'm sorry to say this, but I need to ask you some questions concerning yesterday. She froze. What did her sensei want to know? Were they being watched when the civilian had practically revealed to her Naruto condition? Ayamura, Hiruko, was found dead this morning. Eyewitness said that you were one of the last persons to find him alive. Is that true? Sakura nodded as she felt her stomach twist. Sai wasn't lying. If she told anyone about Naruto's condition, her appearance, she would lose them. Meanwhile, Naruto was twitching in bed, his hands strapped to his side to prevent him from hurting himself. He couldn't even talk, his mouth was blocked so that he wouldn't chew his own tongue. The nurses and doctors were talking about how much of a rare case he was. As he awoke so soon after an electric shock, he tried to close his eyes as tears streaked down his face. Today was a truly horrible day of being him, as he knew that he would be fine in probably a week, but that will waste his time for getting training from his sensei, Shuriken or Kinjutsu. In time it would take for him to heal, maybe his sensei would already start to train his teammates and they would reach a higher level, and he will be the one slacking behind to just hold them back. The man in the bed caught Naruto's attention next to him, as the man turned to look at him. The man was old. Half of his face was covered in bandage. There was a wooden cane that was in the corner. He had a cup on the table, with water inside, and 2 pills as well, on the bed decks. Oh my, he said, a slightly worried face. What happened to you? He would have answered, but his mouth was kept open and he couldn't speak properly because of the wooden mouthpiece. The man picked himself up, using a cane in the corner to walk over. Ah, I knew it. Saw a lot of this during my times in the war. He flipped through Naruto's medical chart. I suppose it's to be expected, but not even giving you a sedative. My, you must be suffering. Do you want me to try and make it better? The pain that Naruto felt was unimaginable. That is why he tried his best to make a yes to the man. As the man came closer, as Naruto saw one of his arms in a sling, he saw Naruto looking at his arm. These are war wounds. I suffer so much. They retire me from active service after the war with Kumu. His working hand was placed on Naruto's chest, and Naruto's spasm went down. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. How had the man done that? Wind is stronger than electricity. As he removed the mouthpiece from Naruto's mouth, I send my wind-laced chakra through your body, removing the electricity, he said. It is far more difficult than what I'm telling you, but it's the goodest explanation I can give you for the moment. The man coughed as he undid Naruto binding afterwards. As he went back to his bed, as Naruto undid the other binding, seeing that his hand was now free. Thanks, he whispered. The man merely smiled back. I saw too many die in the war because of lightning jutsus. Too many were no more than Genins. Konoha never have too many wind affinities, and the level of control to expel electricity from one's body by using wind without damaging the body is rather rare. Oh, said Naruto. Even in those conditions, the man had went out of his way to help him. Thank you again. There's no need, son. I admit. I was selfish in helping you. I wanted someone to chat with before waiting for my nurse to come and order me around. She's evil, let me tell you that. Well, I'm sure she just wants what is best for you. Sir, can I ask you a question or to ask? Sure. You know who I am, right? Said Naruto in a whisper. You know my name and... Yes. I know who you are. And I know what you hold inside of you, the man said. I know exactly what a Jinjuli is. And the fourth Hokage would not make a stupid seal that the Kyuubi would break out of. So, you don't hate me nor to ask? No, the man said. You are a victim just like everyone else is. Some may be blind to the truth, but that doesn't make it any less real. As he smiled and winked with his only eye, to judge a match by the few individuals that stand out is wrong. What is important is that where there are people that are ignorant, there are also people that are not. I've never met them, Naruto whispered. You live in a one-room apartment for shinobis, right? The man asked. As he continued, that's closer to the orphanage and civilian sector. Not that there's actually a divider between the shinobi and civilian one. Mind you, it's just a way of saying but civilians don't really know much about Fuinjutsu, so they have no idea about what seals really are and how powerful they can be. So when they see you, they think that all that stands between them and the Kyuubi is an ink, drawn in strange patterns. But the demon, he never spoke to me. That's better, right? If he had, that means the seal was shabby. That proved that it isn't going to fail anytime soon. Yeah, said Naruto. I suppose you're right. Oh, but where are my manners, the man said. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Danzo Shamira. I was a Jonin of Konoha before the war. Took away the use of my arm and nearly deprived me of my legs. I am Naruto Uzumaki, Shamira-san. This was the most he ever talked to someone since. Took his death. Well, I'm a Genin. I'm gonna become a Chunin too, though. He paused. I'm gonna try my hardest, he said after a while. I'm sure you will. Tell me, what team are you on? And who's your sensei? As Naruto smiled a bit, the man wasn't judging him, so he would talk to him. Meanwhile, in Training Ground 3, Kakashi was looking at his Genin's and narrowed eye. The civilian girl, Ami, was a complete mess. The Inuyasha yelled out loud every time the Uchiha did something better than him. And besides taijutsu, he really had little to offer, so he yelled all the time. Sasuke, on the other hand, was pissed off. The girl, every chance she got, tried to stick herself against him, and Kiba was always shouting, and his annoying dog. Maybe he could poison the puppy Akamaru to get them to shut the hell up. Kakashi sighed softly. He coughed to get their attention, but that didn't catch their attention. So he pulled out his Ichi book and started to read, loudly. Oh no, Zoom-chan, not now. I am sweaty after a long run. Not you too, Zena-chan. You and your older sister, pressed so tightly against my body. I feel like, what the hell? Kiba yelled. What the hell is that, Smutty asked. Kakashi rubbed at his ears a bit. You say something? Are we gonna train Kakashi, Sasuke said, ignoring Kiba. Ah yes. Try and spar 2 against 1. Ami and Kiba, go against Sasuke. He flipped the page of his book, ignoring them. As he wondered why the Hokage refused to give him the son of his sensei, he knew why he couldn't meet the boy earlier. Being a Jinjulki, he was a powerful instrument from birth. The third Hokage managed to make him live through a peaceful childhood, but by doing that, he managed to keep away all the shinobis from Naruto upbringing. That had lasted till the academy, but from that moment onwards, Kakashi had held cold feet from that moment forward. What was he gonna say? Listen kid, I know your father, but I can't talk about it because there's a law in place. And also, I was an Anvu, so I can't tell you anything of exactly what I am behind my mask, or what I do for a living most of the time. He rolled his eyes at that thought. He was actually reading his book in front of him. He was just wondering if someone would catch on that he was reading the book upside down. Yes, he was holding upside down. But none of them catch on. He was sure that Naruto would. Aoba had described him as a quiet, genius boy, just as the fourth had been. So what if he had horrible grades? The boy should have been his to train. He was sure that Naruto would have caught on the underneath of the underneath thing. Not like the bunch of imbeciles in front of him. As he sighed, he wondered why he even passed them. Of course he knew the reason. For one thing, Kiba had no trouble working with Ami, since her queen bee personality was in full force whenever she wanted something done by someone else. And Kiba was so weak to flirting. Kakashi wondered how he would face off against a Kunoichi. And Sasuke on the other hand, he was still unsure how they came up with the idea of working together. Probably because the time was running short, the three of them attacked him at once. He had tied Ami to the stump, and she simply gave a puppy dog look to Kiba, and gave her his food. And since Sasuke knew that Kiba was more useful than full stomach than an empty one, He too offers some to the girl so Kiba wouldn't starve. But after that, his words on teamworking just seemed to have vanished from their mind, as he wondered if he could feel them right now. The 2 against 1 had became a 1 against 1 as Ami was looked at his hair once again, as she thought that he dyed his hair silver. Maybe he could pass off their deaths as training accident. Yes, a very dark thought, but maybe he could. He would just have to play really smart as he debate the murdering of his Genins. Kurenai and Asuma was having a mixed day with their Genins. Of course, the real reason they said was to show friendship between teams, or perhaps it was because they want to be with each other. Asuma frowned. Shikamaru is sleeping again. What a lazy brat, he said. We should wake him up. How did you even pass him to begin with? Tradition and politics, Asuma said. The same way you pass your team, I suspect. No, she said. Had they failed, I would have failed them without concerns. Really? He said, as he took a puff of his cigarette. Watch with Hibachi then. He looked like a stick has been stuck up his ass. Asuma, she said. He suffered from a superiority complex, being smashed. He thought he was gonna have it easy since his father's a shinobi, but he didn't find out he would be on a team with 2 clan children. So right now he's having a hard time facing the truth. Asuma simply shrugged. If you say so. The man then frowned as he saw Ino just defeat Hinata in a friendly taijutsu spar. Did the Hyuga just lose in a taijutsu match? Kurenai sighed as she lowered her voice. Hinata has some issues. Pretty bad ones to lose to Ino of all people. Stop it, she said, glaring at Asuma. She just don't want to hurt the girl. If you say so, he said. Time skip. Naruto was dismissed the same day. It was late at night when he returned to his apartment, stomach grumbling. Eating and opening the fridge, he found nothingness like usual staring back at him. If you want to eat something, you have to go out to one of those 24 hours shinobi only shop. He had never been to one of them before. They were a bit far away from his house, and they were for a full-fledged shinobi, which he was now, but he was nervous. Deciding that he took a deep breath as he made his way out for the night. Late in the night, Konoha was pretty much a ghost city. The few people that linger around were drunken guys and some shinobis, but they pretty much ignore everyone. Their only objective was to go home as they were drunk. So with Naruto walking close to the wall in his dark colored clothing, they didn't really pay attention or they didn't even see him. As Naruto saw Shinobi's shop open, with a sign claiming 24 hours, unknown to him, a mad shinobi that has been trailing him until then disappeared into thin air. His job of creating a genjutsu was done. The name of the shop was Root. Naruto blinked as he came near. He looked inside. Before he widened his eyes in surprise, he stepped in. He was surprised to see the same old man in the hospital. Shamira-san, he said. Ah, Naruto, what a surprise. You took my advice to mingle more with the shinobis, he said, as he was also sitting there. Yes. As Naruto looked around the shop, a simple room with various dry foods, with common utensils and general long-lasting stuff, including body soaps and things for hygiene. A few different sizes of clothes hung in the corner, while there was a small fridge that had frozen peas and frozen stuff. My, what a coincidence to see you so soon. Empty fridge, Danzo said. Yeah, in between missions and all, I never had time, said Naruto as he walked closer. The ways of being a shinobi, Danzo said. Well, we have a heater in the back of a shop for customer uses. Sometimes you don't have to go back home. Sometimes you don't have the energy to go back. To move between one mission or another, you just want to go straight out, you know? Thank you, Shamira-san, said Naruto. He could actually eat without going back home to start cooking. He headed over to the food shelf, biting his lip as he checked his own wallet and prices. He had more than enough money thanks to his D-rank day before, so he decided to treat himself to some powder ramen. He paid the old man, then headed towards the door in the back of the shop. The door led to a smaller room with a table and 4 chairs and a few lockers as well, and a notice board on the wall. Notice for shinobis asking other shinobis check on their apartment for a fee, and watering their plants and feeding their pets. That was probably for the Jonins or Chunins who were on long-term missions. If he ever needed extra money, he might check on the notice board. As he started to heat the water for the powder ramen, a thought came to his mind as he peeked back in. Shamira-san, would you like a cup of tea? Oh my, how thoughtful of you, Naruto. The tea is in the second cupboard to the left. As the man smiled and nodded, Naruto smiled back as he returned back to heating the water. This was nice. A few moments later, the man entered and left the door open, probably to check if any customer came in. As Naruto felt happy, for the first time he wasn't going to be eating alone, or eating in silence. At the same time, Danzo was analyzing Naruto to the last detail. His face might be smiling, grinning, but he was analyzing Naruto fully. From his choice of food to the way he had moved around, from the way he made the tea, from the way he added a cup of ramen. as his eyes scanned towards the notice board and the lockers. He was a shinobi, he was made to notice things. He always trained Naruto's operatives to master their emotion, so that they could kill on a moment notice. His face smiled as the boy thanked him once again. Naruto had trained to do, but he felt like he was not as smart and as strong as his peers. Danzo merely gave him a smile and told him that he will train and catch up. As a child was different from an adult. To eat, a man would question why he would have to do a 500 push-up. But the child would just do it, because they look up to their elders, their superiors, if you train them well enough. That is why his root ninjas would die for him at a moment notice. And he was using the same concept on the Jinchuriki. He was still too young to understand why did he meet Danzo 2 times the same day. Not to mention, why did he have the perfect affinity to release the electricity out of his body? It was because he wasn't paranoid. He was just desperate for acceptance, because he had no one. He was desperate for someone to look at him and say with a kind smile that he had done well, that he was a good boy. Sometimes a simple word could earn you far more loyalty than threats, or roughing up someone. As he saw the boy wanted to sleep, as he finally got back up, he said goodbye, as there was a sad look on his face, as it seems he didn't want to leave. He waved back to the boy, as the boy headed off. The moment he was gone, the hidden operative showed himself. As the man went towards the counter, Danzo pressed one of the locker's bottom with his cane. The lockers then swing aside, revealing the passageway into the root quarters. Sai was a useful operative, even if sometimes he showed off his failures as a root member. The death of the civilian was unneeded, but the man had broken the law. That was needed if the Jinchuriki was against Konoha and he needed to be put down. And Sai would have to kill him to become a cold, heartless operative. Or he would not, and then he would die. Still, what bothered him though was a painting that Sai had finished. It was a painting of the team, but only the girl was smiling. Sai and Naruto's smile were absent, like Sai had yet to draw them in. It didn't worry him, but he wondered what this Sai meant with that subtle action. But everything was going according to plan, and Hiruzen would not be winded off it, especially when he gave Naruto that valuable scroll. The one that contained the only other Uzumaki name in the village, since the third had removed her name, so that Naruto wouldn't be curious. It was a little known fact that Kushina and the fourth had been together. The few that knew they were killed during the Kyuubi rampage, and the Uzumaki, being pregnant, had been silenced over the years, by accident means. The only thing that remained was the scroll that he held. He had the unchanged roster of all the Konoha shinobis, including Kushina Uzumaki's status of pregnancy that led her out of the shinobi program, and how the fourth Hokage and her blood type could fit perfectly with Naruto's, and more hints that would drive Naruto away from Hiruzen and into his grasp. The truth was a powerful weapon. He doubted that Hiruzen could fight against the truth when it was revealed. Time skip. Sakura was a bit confused. The usual stoic face of Naruto was smiling. She didn't know what to make of it, especially since they were dealing with garbage disposal. She grabbed her metal stick as she pierced through a few cans and tossed them into the bin. Her eyes traveled once more to the blonde boy as she glanced and studied him. He seemed rather ignorant to what she was doing. Her eyes then roamed up and met with Sai's. She instantly looked back down to the ground once more. Sai had known about Naruto being a Jinchuriki in the beginning. She felt like that civilian death wasn't something random. The man had talked to her and someone killed him for revealing the S-rank secret. Her throat felt dry at that piece of information. The sun was high in the sky. The full summer heat hitting them hard. She had to remove her forehead protector to her waist because it was scorching on her forehead. Sai seemed to be keeping his cool. He wasn't even sweating. As Aoba saw her look. "Sakura," he said, as he beckoned her closer. She did. "What is it?" he asked. "Sensei, what's the purpose of D-rank mission?" she asked. There's not a clear way to answer that. Some might say it's a way for shinobi to show the population of the village how helpful they are. But everyone has shinobi relatives. So what's the purpose of that? Personally, I think everyone see in the D-rank mission what they want to see. Huh? She said, confused. Well, I know for some shinobi, D-rank missions are what they do to fend off the boredom, doing things that wouldn't actually risk their life. Others believe that D-rank are used to unwind stressed out shinobis. Collecting garbage is boring and repetitive, but it is better than going on an assassination mission. So collect garbage and help out old lady during downtime, instead of being out there knowing the possibility that you can die. Some use to relax themselves, or it might be a security reason. Having shinobis do mission around the village, reveal foreign spies, and find out hidden things about the village that weren't supposed to be there. "Ah, I see," said Sakura. Then there's option 4. D-ranks are useful to Genin to learn different type of work. so they could use those information to infiltrate other villages. As he started to go into more options, then what's the real one, she asked. There isn't a real one, he said. Maybe it's a combination of all of them, or there isn't. But what you need to know is that D rank exists, and you're doing one now. With that, he nodded to her, and he returned to looking ahead of him. She returned back to her job as she noticed her pile had gone down a lot. She frowned as she turned her head. Her thoughts went on Sai, but he was too far away. She then turned towards Naruto as his pile had grown. Like he didn't even know the word of fatigue. The hot sun, he was panting and sweating, but he wasn't slowing down. He wasn't stopping. She quickly finished off the small pile that she had as she went over. Naruto, she said. The smile on his face dropped a bit. Naruto? Yes, Sakura, he said. The smile still there but small. Can I help you? Oh no. I just want to thank you, she said. He chuckled nervously. For what? She gave him a tiny smile. Well, you did clean a bit of my side, didn't you? Oh, that was nothing. I just thought you'd be quicker that way, he said. He then turned. Naruto, wait, she said. As he turned back around slowly, his body tensing up. As he lowered his head. It's fine, he said. I'll change teams if that is what you want. She frowned. What are you talking about? Why would I want that? You don't? Why would I? It's not that there's any reason. Is there? He chuckled grimly at her words, shaking his head before nodding back. Well, I'm not as smart as you are, Sai. My taijutsu is horrendous, and I barely escaped by the exam. I don't have any clan jutsu or something like that. The most I can do is clean the trash quickly. She shook her head. When we had to pass the exam, it was your plan that we followed, Naruto. My taijutsu is horrible as well. The only good thing about it is that I followed the book. I tire quickly, and I get sore rather easily. You were the one that carried me through the exam. A silence settled between them until she spoke up again. I know why people hate you, she said. I don't think it should change anything in the team. His eyes widened at that. Before he lowered his gaze. It should. No, it shouldn't, she said. It should, he said. It shouldn't, she said. It should. Shouldn't. Should. Dickless. Cherry. The job is done, said Sai. As Sakura turned her head away, she just entered a friendly banter with him, but Sai had gone and broke it. She didn't even snap at Sai. Cherry was a good name, as Sai had used the time to finish up their parts. The park was now clean of trash. For a few days, they hope. Alright, Aoba said. Sai and Sakura, I expect you too. This afternoon for taijutsu practice at Training Ground 13. He then turned to Naruto with a grim look. I'm arranging for a teacher to take you on Kinjutsu, but I've got little results so far. Still, I'm giving you afternoon free to look around for a sword you'd like to use. Naruto nodded. He was sure that he would find a sword. But the question is whether he liked it or not. He was about to go his way. Naruto? Sakura said she hesitated. He turned. Nothing, she said. He frowned as he made his way. She didn't want him to change themes, and that was good for the moment. As he was sweating, he made his way back home as he entered the sink. As the water was a bit brownish before it turned normal. As she used the liquid soap and the sponge, he had barely finished washing as the water stopped. Turned the tap, he got no result. As he looked under the sink, the tube was intact. He sighed as he made his way toward his fridge and pulled a bottle of water that he placed inside before. He drank from it 3 sips before putting the bottle back in place. The fridge was an old model. It did keep things cool, but it did not produce ice. Well, it didn't really matter if water was cut off. Still, he was lucky it did not cut off with him, still soap. He made his way, dried himself, as he put on all grey. As he made his way towards Route, he was surprised there was many other shops. He didn't see them last night. But he will tell the old man that Sakura didn't hate him for being a Jinjulke. And maybe he should tell Sai as well. As he arrived and opened the door, as he felt the cool ear of the mechanical fan. This is heaven, he whispered to himself. A chuckle came from the counter. The miracles of technology, huh? Said Danzo as he looked towards the mechanical fan that was behind a stack of melting ice. The cool air was then brought forward by the fan that filled the place. Hello, Shamira-san, said Naruto. How's business? It's about to get better, I suppose. So what can I do for you, Naruto? Yeah, fun thing is, he grimaced. The water was cut off today. So I wonder, do you sell those big tank things that can store water inside? We have bottles, but surely, lack of water wouldn't last for long. It's summer. It would be quite foolish to leave a house without water for so long. Alright, said Naruto. Is there something wrong? Danzo asked. Nah, nothing. I'm sure they will fix the pipes next month. He knew that the pipes would be repaired, but his section, as he learned how to fix them by himself, but he couldn't work on them until the workers were gone. It shouldn't take that long, Naruto. We're in the middle of a heat wave. Surely, you can ask to be moved to another apartment. He looked towards the door, sadly. There isn't another apartment available, asked Danzo. I don't know, he whispered. I don't want to be a bother. You don't want to be a bother? You wouldn't be. It's a Konoha Shinobi program to make sure that all Konoha Shinobis are housed in a safe housing with running water, electricity, and gas. A shinobi is willing to sacrifice his life for Konoha, so Konoha should sacrifice the time to get you an apartment with running water. And if they won't take their time, then I will. Naruto was surprised. Now go and make your plan known, Naruto. And if it doesn't work, come back here, and I'll handle it, personally. Naruto nodded as he turned to leave. He glanced back at the old man, who was so happy for him to be treated right. Thanks, he said, as he left the shop, and headed towards the Hokage's tower. Danzo took a single breath, and his features returned back to normal. He slowly walked to the back room as he opened his secret door. He nodded to the operative to take his place. Now the blonde boy would either go and get his apartment changed to a home closer to his, yes, as the others were all occupied, or he will not. And then Danzo would offer him a place to stay. Both of the options were ready. If the boy returned home without telling him, the next thing that he would make would cut away was electricity and gas. After all, he was behind it all. He could even play the waited game with Naruto forcefully, went to hunt in the woods. Or he can drop by and ask him how everything was going. Then he would act rather angry and demanding that Naruto get out of here because the place was not suited for a shinobi to live. It was all an act, a web of lies, to trick and trap the prey. The resources of Root were dedicated towards this project. After all, the Jinchurikis of the village were weapons, and they were also political tools. A Hokage that didn't have control over Jinchuriki was an empty figurehead. Perhaps he could get Hiruzen to retire and place someone as figurehead that he could control from behind the scenes. A few hours later, Danzo was greeted by Hiruzen walking into his shop. The man's face was calm, but on the inside he was probably twisting with anger and worry. Danzo simply smiled. Hiruzen, what can I do for you? Cut the crap, Danzo. What the hell do you think you're doing? Absolutely nothing. I just felt I must do something in my retirement. Can't I? Naruto, Danzo. What are you planning with him? The boy is just a lost lamb. Giving him a purpose in life is not really anything to worry about. He's so much similar to the fort. It's like looking at a ghost, you know? Danzo, Naruto's already suffered enough. I had hoped that he had a normal childhood, but he didn't have one. I hope for him to be happy, but the most he managed is a bitter smile. Do not toy with me, old friend. There's always a free grave in Konoha Cemetery. Danzo frowned slightly before recomposing himself. Death threats, really, Hiruzen. How the mighty have fallen, he said, as he flicked his gaze towards the door. Well then, Danzo-san, I hope your business stay afloat. Likewise, Hokage-sama. I hope your reign stay peaceful. The door finished creaking open, as it was Naruto who came in. As Naruto was looking between them with a bit of surprise, Danzo smiled as the boy walked back in. Naruto, how did it go? He asked. They said it won't take much to repair the pipes. A few hours at least, Shimura-san, he said. Good to know, said Danzo. And if it take more, just tell me, and I'll do something about it. Paperwork call, Hiruzen said. Hope to see you soon, Naruto, he said. And with that, he left. Danzo expected Hiruzen to catch up on his play a bit earlier, but now he was a part of Naruto's life. Shimura-san, said Naruto. Do you know where I can buy a sword? A sword? What sword? A katana? You're a shinobi. Katanas are for samurais. Well, I'm starting Kinjutsu. Sensei is teaching my teammates taijutsu, but mine is so horrible. There's no way I can get on par with them. So, I'm looking for a sword. If it's a replacement taijutsu, it makes sense to have a sharp blade, like a tanto. Wait, aren't swords just swords, Naruto asked? Danzo chuckled lightly. If swords are just swords, then what do you make of the Raichi no Ken? But that's the second Hokage's sword. It's special. Yes, it is, but do you know, he never used it during most of his missions. Why wouldn't he? Said Naruto. The sword was said to be able to splice through mountains. It made the user invincible as well. Well, it's noisy and flashy, and it's the reason his hair is always first upwards, and not down like his brothers. The second Hokage was far quieter than Hoshiyama, and he preferred a silent weapon, like the kaiten. What's a kaiten? Naruto asked. It's a dagger, sometimes two-bladed and sometimes not. The strength lies in how simple it is. It's nothing more than a blade to 8 to 10 inches long. The benefit is it can easily be used indoors, but what you need is a Yori Toshi. As Danzo turned as he rummaged through the counter, before he came back with a black sheet, the dark purple handle of the sword had a small shuriken symbol with the claw tied around it tightly. It looked like a tanto 7-inch long, but the blade was half an inch thick. Danzo unsheathed it carefully. It was more large than a normal tanto, but it also seemed more sturdier than one. The blade is reinforced with chakra metal to make it more easier for the shinobi to use it, said Danzo. This blade helped me through some tight situation in the war, while running through the tunnel, underground situation of the earth. It helped me attack in close range, where a katana would just be too long. It is also known as an armor cutter. The thickness guarantee you will not snap against any armor. Even samurai chest plates are easy to pierce with this. As Naruto admired the craftsmanship, the handle was first dark blue when I first wielded it. It became dark purple from the blood of Konoha enemies dripping on it. Naruto gulped. It was so small yet I kill a lot, as the handle was really purple. In the right hands, any weapon is lethal, Naruto. This weapon isn't made for shosho, or complex weapon moves. There are no such things as special or super moves, said Danzo. I feel the nerve to sigh when I see young shinobis run around about their cool moves or something like that. This blade pierces, this blade stabs, this blade kills. It works. Do we understand each other, Naruto? Naruto was now frightened as he looked from Danzo back to the blade. Yes, Shamiro-san, he said. You may call me Shamiro-sensei, Naruto, said Danzo, as he sheathed the blade and pushed it forward towards Naruto. Tell your Jonin-sensei that I will teach you Kenjutsu. I don't believe you will have anything to say about it. How? But the sword is... Listen to me, Naruto. I have no children, and these wounds prevented me from becoming an active shinobi-sensei. But it doesn't mean I can't teach someone else. If by teaching you my legacy will continue on to the world, then so be it. Who better than you after all? You sacrificed your childhood, hated by all, and yet you still continue to fight to become a worthy shinobi of Konoha no matter what. I sacrificed my body for the will of Konoha, and here I am, ready to pass down my knowledge to another generation, although I might have skipped over someone before reaching you. Danzo's eyes settled on Naruto one more time, as the boy was now crying. Had he really overwhelmed the boy too much with such words? As he stood up, he brought his hand down and ruffled Naruto's hair. And as the boy cried, Danzo smiled to himself. The Jinchuriki was his to train and mold from this moment on. Yes, that made him smile happily. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything over in Anime King 2. Stay in tune for a brand new episode coming over in Anime King 3, which I do hope that you guys will enjoy. And yes, guys, you're hearing that right. I have 3 channels: Anime King 2, Anime King 3. All links will be down in the description for Anime King 2 and Anime King 3 for you guys to enjoy. Remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying, talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.